live stream. So I'm almost certain this is going to fail. Hey, everybody, Kelsey Toner here. Good morning. Daniel coming all the way from Berlin. I was just saying I'm attempting to do my first dual live stream. So excited that you're here because it's almost certain to fail. Exciting things are going to happen. So you'll see me looking between the two screens here. We have an open Q&A discussion about online experiences. So all questions are welcome. And if you're catching this on the replay, feel free to type those questions in if you're here on Facebook, just down below, and we'd be happy to answer them after the fact. And of course, here on the replay, you can always reach out. We're using a Webinar Jam streaming service. Hey to Shane. Carlos is tuning in from Chile. Kathy from Phoenix, Arizona. Kathy, I'm a little bit jealous here in Vancouver. It is not exactly warm. We are about 5 degrees, but lots of snow up on the mountains. We've got Willie tuning in from South Africa here on Facebook. Great to see you, Willie. So first and foremost, thanks so much, everybody, for coming today. We're going to prioritize the folks who are here live. We're going to answer your questions. But first and foremost, I wanted to share our Black Friday special offers. Everything is Black Friday, no matter what part of the world you're in right now. And we are releasing today, you're actually the first who are hearing about it, a special offer on that virtual tour business program. Many people have been asking for a payment plan. And so we have 2 special offers with Black Friday. You can now join our virtual tour business program if you're interested in creating, launching online experiences, seeing what's possible in that space. You can now join for 3 payments of $97 a month. So for just $97, you can get started in the virtual tour business program. I wanted to give you a sneak peek of that here today. Chad, if we can post those links. I am streaming live on Facebook. So Chad, if we can share that to those other groups, that would be fantastic too. So that's the one offer. And the second offer is if you do want to enroll in the virtual tour business program, we're going to throw in that extraordinary storytelling program free of charge just for the next week and a half or so for the Black Friday special. So that's out of the way. We've got some Black Friday specials. You can check out the links here. We'll probably share them in just a moment. So basically the big thing today is an open Q&A. Any questions you have for myself, Chad is here in the chat about online experiences. If maybe you're already doing them, maybe you're considering launching them, maybe you just want to check back in and see what's been going on. Like I said, we work with people now in 2 ways. One, in our core self-study program, virtual tour business. We have 275, 280 or so tour business owners and freelance guides who are in that program. So I'm happy to share what they're doing, where they're seeing traction. And the other way that we work with people is in our accelerator program. And this is sort of a weekly coaching call where we've layered in accountability partners. We've hired some experienced experienced coaches. Kyra Alcock, who's leading up our accelerator program, she's already created and launched over 15 different online experiences across Europe. And now she's working one-on-one with those folks. So this is kind of what's going on and kind of, I guess, why we have a unique view into this space, because we're working with the people who are in here. So Irina Porter says, hey, we've already enrolled in virtual tour business. Awesome, Irina. Can we get a discount for the storytelling program or get it for free? Hey, Irina, just follow up afterwards. We haven't made a call yet. We're certainly not giving away our extraordinary storytelling program for free. This is very much a Black Friday special, but Irina, we could probably work something out for you. Anyone else who's interested in that storytelling program, shoot me an email at kelsey@beabetterguide.com and we'll figure something out. Carmen from Romania. Hey, Carmen. Carmen is the latest to join our accelerator program. So it's great to have you here, Carmen, a little bit later at night over there, about 9 p.m. in Romania. Sebastian tuning in from Flores Island in Indonesia. Tony is in from Minnesota. Great to have you here, Tony. Oves, sorry, I must be mispronouncing that, but from Iran, welcome. And Francisco from Argentina. Paul from Bath. Hey, Paul, good to see you. So this is a great opportunity. If you're here in either of the chats, go ahead and type in any questions that you have about online experiences, anything that you might be working on that maybe you have a challenge in. And then Chad, if you want to sort of feed some of the questions that we received ahead of time into the chat, we can start with those. So the first and foremost, we just are coming off of the arrival conference. And so we led a number of sessions with this. It was Arrival 360. It was a virtual event, and we were sharing a lot of our experiences with this online space, what online products and services are actually working. They interviewed some folks like Avital and Scott from Scott's Pizza Tours, and some of the things that they're doing. So what a common question, Chad, I know we talked about leading with this, is hey, what types of online experiences are actually getting some traction? Because no question, this is a tough road. There are many reasons why you may not choose to create an online experience, and many of them are valid. You shouldn't feel badly if you don't want to pursue online experiences. That's totally okay. And if you do choose it, know that it's very much like starting an entirely new tour, but in many ways, starting an entirely new business. So the road is tough, and no question, it is it has its bumps, it has its challenges. And so a lot of folks in our program are generating revenue, but we do want to forewarn you that the path to profitability is there, but it's a challenging one. And profitability can be a really high bar for any new venture. If you were kicking off and starting a tour business, when is it that you're profitable? If you have to open up a storefront, if you have to get a fleet of bicycles, let's say you have to hire some folks, you have to get your insurance, you have to, there's a lot that goes into that. And the path to profitability, of course, is there for a tour and activity business, but it is going to take time. And so we always like to preface that there's no magic bullet solutions with online experiences. But here is what we're seeing get traction. Right now, especially with this holiday period, be thinking team, corporate, and organization virtual events. Now that can be virtual team building, that can be virtual holidays. We are seeing enormous demand. The people who are in this space are talking about inquiries coming in, not being able to fill orders. I know one company that is just hiring more salespeople because just to handle the volume of inquiries that are coming in. And this is partly because no matter what part of the world you're in, we're experiencing this to different extents, but the world and many companies are switching to remote work or are leaning into remote work. So larger and larger percentages of their teams are doing remote or virtual meetings, and they're all asking themselves the same questions. How can we do something fun together? How can we celebrate the holidays together? How can we celebrate our financial year end? How can we create camaraderie? How can we build morale? And very often, companies have had budgets for this in the past that are now available to doing this in some sort of online way, because basically people are nervous about hosting these events themselves, or maybe they have tried, they just, okay, hey, we get a Zoom call, but we all, how is this different if we're just sitting around just now maybe with a drink in hand for a virtual happy hour? People are looking for ways that they can have fun. Ways that they can be inspired. Maybe they can learn something. And so there's a number of companies that we can point to, but if you want some inspiration, Chad, maybe we could share it in the chat. But teambuilding.com, this is the Museum Hack team. So Museum Hack had these unbelievable museum tours, and they had probably 30, 40 guides. They were easily getting up to around $2.5 million a year in annual revenue, a really well-established tour and activity business that was focused very much on museums. They've pivoted that team. And this is Michael Alexis and his partner, who've done incredible work there. And they're now have bought teambuilding.com, and they're doing exclusively online team building. And they did have some corporate connections from their Museum Hack days. So they were a little bit set up for success in that they'd already done some corporate events at museums. Their museum tours were so great that the companies in New York, they were mostly along the East Coast, Washington and Boston, they were coming and doing the Museum Hack tours. So now they could go back to them with a virtual experience. But if you go to teambuilding.com, check out what they're doing, because they're highlighting what we feel, which is, hey, we as tour leaders, as hosts, as tour business owners, we have a set of skills that is actually needed now more than ever. This ability to bring people together, to inspire them, to tell engaging stories, to maybe open their minds up to something they hadn't thought about before, the ability to facilitate experiences, to manage group dynamics. all of those skills are so needed at a time when people are feeling disconnected. And if you feel like there's just no role for you right now, or there's no way for you to use those skills unless you're standing in front of those people, we honestly feel you're selling yourself short. There is so much that you can do remotely. We can do things like this with our video connections, and your skills are needed. And that's what we're seeing the people in our program who are pivoting or even adjusting their online experiences to be able to work with teams. They're seeing great success. And so keep that in mind if you're going on your own, or if you're considering enrolling in one of our programs, or you're in one of our programs. There is some real traction in this space, and especially if you can get something up and running before this Christmas or holiday period, I think there's some real potential there, but that is going to continue on into what is looking like a pretty tough winter in terms of lockdowns, coronavirus numbers. The United States market, which is a huge market for these types of team building experiences for companies, it's going to be looking pretty grim. A lot of things are going to be happening virtual. Okay, so that's one. I'm happy to circle back, and we'll cover a few others that we're seeing getting traction. But Chad, let's keep focused on any other Q&A that are coming in. Okay, Chad, yeah, flagging them with that Q is great. So as I scroll through the chat, Thomas, welcome from Slovenia. Chad's just seeing here, just chit chat, and Kelsey will answer. Great. Daniel was saying, I wonder whether transmission is also possible via Skype and whether PayPal is a good conduit for payments. Okay, great question. Just checking over here on Facebook. If you are here live on the Facebook stream as well, by all means, type those questions here in the chat. I'm just making sure, yeah, I can see the chat here. It's basically the comment feed. I'll be happy to answer those as well. Okay, let's talk. Should we use Skype? Should we use other ways of connecting using video, like WhatsApp, or gosh, there's so many, Google Meet. We have Cisco and WebEx. There's webinar platforms like the one we're using over here. There's even Facebook now is in the sort of meeting room business. I think you may have seen these Facebook rooms that they're creating. So the short answer is this. Zoom emerged as the leader for these in-person virtual meetings for one big reason. There's probably lots of reasons, but in my mind, it was this. Zoom was the first to really acknowledge how frustrating and challenging it was to get people together on one of these calls. And so what Zoom did, their big innovation was, let's keep things as simple as possible. It's one link. All people need to do is click that link, and they can run it right from a browser, meaning I can just jump into that meeting in a browser. Now, they do have apps that you need to download if you're on a mobile device, and it will even prompt you if you're on a Mac or PC to install a Zoom client. But you can say no, and Zoom will still run. And so that took down a lot of the hurdles in terms of getting things scheduled. I remember Skype. I used Skype a lot, and the biggest pain in the ass was, what's your Skype username? It was always something weird, right? Because the whole world had Skype usernames. You could never get your name, or it could never be easy. Then we had to connect. So then there was this process of, do you accept this connection? Then we had to message. Then we had to join the meeting. So Daniel, when you're considering Skype, just know that there's a lot of steps before you can actually connect with people. And so that's part of the reason why Zoom has gone ahead. The second consideration is just the fact that over this pandemic, Zoom has really dominated. And it partly had to do with their free. They made it free, not unlike Skype, but again, their free plan became so popular. And so what our students are saying in the virtual tour business program is that even if at the beginning of the pandemic, people weren't that familiar with Zoom and how it worked, they are now. And so one of the biggest concerns is, of course, okay, do we need to train people in how to use whatever platform we're going to be connecting on? And the short answer is, what we're hearing back is that people are now just familiar with Zoom for the most part. And so that is another really compelling reason to use it. So Daniel, keep in mind for Zoom, if you're going to get into hosting these experiences, you may want to consider the first paid tier. I think in Canada it's like 19 or 20 bucks because of our dollar, but I think it's around 10, 15 bucks a month US. And so it's worth paying for that entry level Zoom product because one, it gets rid of that time limit. Two, it gives you access to breakout rooms, which are a really fantastic tool with Zoom. And then there's a number of other things in terms of scheduling, more options, things that you can do in the meetings that are all actually great for creating engaging online experiences. So the short answer is in our program, we recommend Zoom. Now, if you're doing private experiences or you're with somebody who is very adamant about using Skype or Google Meet or something else, then of course we can be flexible. And again, especially if you're doing private experiences where maybe you're just streaming one-on-one, then by all means use whatever platform they're most comfortable with and is going to allow you to facilitate the experience. Now, we love Zoom breakout rooms, but they're not applicable, of course, in a more private experience where maybe we've had some of the customers in our program. The story that comes to mind was in St. Petersburg. He is where he's based and his team of guides, and they said that they had a private tour booked, and it was an American who had married a woman from St. Petersburg, and their birthday, they were supposed to travel to St. Petersburg and have these great experiences. It was going to be a romantic holiday. And so, of course, that was all canceled because of the pandemic. So he hired one of his guides to walk around St. Petersburg and do some of the things that they were going to do together. And he paid something like $250, I think, for a couple hours. And that was very much with a smartphone. And they were able to connect using FaceTime or something like that. So it does depend a little bit, but long story short, Zoom is the way to go in most cases. Coolio. Let's check out the next question. Oh yeah, I can also remove the queue, or even chat if you're if you see that we've answered that question, just hit the queue and then remove it. So that would be great. So that we know not to answer it. Yeah, I'll just remove a couple of these cues. Shane asked, how can pre-recorded videos of tour routes be used successfully for virtual tours? Great question from Shane. Here's what we're recommending. In the program itself, there's a number of different ways, like you can have an entirely pre-recorded experience that is then delivered. And there's some advantages to doing that. One of the disadvantages is, of course, the interactivity that you lose, the ability to have real-time Q&A. But that doesn't mean that a pre-recorded video can't still facilitate an experience. And if you take nothing else from this live Q&A and this announcement of the Black Friday offers, it should be this: you should be facilitating an experience. And if your experience can be easily compared to watching a YouTube video or watching a documentary or following a travel vlogger or something like that on Instagram, then we really need to relook at your experience, because it should be about facilitating an experience. Even though it's online, even though it's at a distance, I want you to think about, how can I get people to move? How can I get people to use their senses? Can they smell something? Can they taste something? Can they cut something up? Can they participate? Can they write something on a piece of paper that they have to hold up in front of the screen? That is, if we're going to use pre-recorded videos, what is the most effective way? Well, one of the most effective ways, I would say, is to make sure that no matter what you're sharing that's pre-recorded, can it involve some sort of facilitated exercise. And so here's an example. So you could go full pre-recorded, you could go live and then share videos. So that's actually really fairly straightforward to do, especially with Zoom. You can, there's just a little box. This is the type of stuff we cover in the program, but there's a little box that says, yes, share my computer audio as well, and that's key. And then when you play a video, it will be sharing your computer audio. So just keep in mind, if you are sharing from your computer, you have to share your computer audio. But let's say you figured that out. There's some really creative ways that you can use pre-recorded content. Here's a couple examples. One, there is a, gosh, what's it called? Plague tour in Czech Republic. It's in Prague. This is one of the top selling Airbnb online experiences. And he wears one of these old school plague doctor masks. It looks like a bird. And his tour, this was an in-person tour that he did, and he had some footage of him walking around Prague at night in this costume, a dark, dark cape. This is from the sort of Middle Ages, not Middle Ages, but the 1300s, 1400s, around the time of some of those initial plagues. And so he put some of that footage into his live Airbnb online experience. So it's pretty cool because he's sharing some of the information on the tour. He's facilitating that experience. We can have that interactivity, some of that engagement, but then he is also showing us around Plague, or again, he's using clips of that. Like, here's what that costume looked like. Here's what that would have looked like walking these ancient medieval alleyways and things, and here's what the doctor would carry, and when he was visiting these homes, what sort of medications, what would he be sharing. That's one really cool use. We had somebody in our accelerator, I believe it was an accelerator program. We were coaching them, and they were coming up with this idea of a chocolate experience. They're like, I'm based here in New York City. I've got some connections with some world-class chocolatiers, like people making just phenomenally great chocolate. And so they said, well, should I try and partner with them so that we have a live experience that they're hosting and I'm hosting? And I said, yes, you can absolutely do that, but why not use some of that pre-recorded video? So Shane, in this example, it would be, maybe I could get that world-class chocolatier to show me around his chocolate shop, in some way. Maybe he could walk us through how to identify what is really great chocolate and what is really crap chocolate, right? So now what we've got is chocolate expert. And so here, you may have heard me say before, but special moments, special people, and special access. These are all things that we want to include in any type of in-person tour, but just as much for an online tour. So wow, we're ticking some boxes here with this pre-recorded video of a world-class chocolatier because he's a special person. We got special access because we're in and we're seeing his chocolate factory in some way that we probably couldn't just do that if we were visiting New York or just came off the street. And then special moments. What can we create? Can we ask people to bring a really high quality chocolate with them? We could ship it to them. Many people have involved shipping things to people's home, but even not, we can say, hey, buy these 3 types of chocolates. And maybe it's like semi-sweet from the baking aisle. Grab a Lindor really high-end chocolate, and then get a Kit Kat bar or something like that. And then he's going to facilitate an experience and highlight what makes one chocolate better than the other while also using our senses. What I love about that as a pre-recorded video is now we don't have to coordinate with this world-class chocolatier. Now we don't have to be reliant on them to facilitate that experience, right? And probably we don't even necessarily have to do a revenue share with that individual either if we frame it as an opportunity to get their brand, to get their store, to get his name out in the world, right? We could have a link to buy some of their chocolates online. This could be a marketing opportunity from them, and then you're just building it in to your online experience. That's going to happen live in real time, but then we're going to pop around, and then you can get creative, right? Maybe we go to that chocolate stop, go to this chocolate stop. You can now imagine those little pre-recorded snippets that can enhance the theme of your tour. I just used chocolate as an example. It could be anything. So Shane, hopefully that answers that question. Let's pop over here on Facebook. Let's see we've got some more people joining in. Nikki Flo, hey, good to see you, Nikki. George is here from South Africa. Willie, a friend in Japan requested from our company in South Africa to provide our virtual tour. Safari, shopping, and art of craft souvenirs, cheetah running. This was a bit challenging. Well, Willie, that's great. We're seeing a lot of this stuff, quite honestly, happening organically, whether that's people reaching out and asking for an online experience, or what's also happening, as I said off the top with those team building, is somebody attends one of these online experiences. Maybe it's a virtual wine learning experience or cooking experience, and then they say, hey, this was so much fun. Could we do this with my team of at work, right? It could be 40 people. Carol Feely, who runs a beautiful winery, she's created these wine discovery online experiences. And she told me the same thing happened, where she basically had a wine, hosted one of her online experiences. And then the person wrote her afterwards and says, wow, this was amazing. Could you do this for 50 people for our wine club, or our business, right? So those types of things can happen organically. But Willie, no doubt, when you're thinking about what assets that you have, pre-recorded content of wildlife can be used really, really effectively. You know, mentioned here talking about cheetah running. So you can use your own content, but you can of course draw from the web or videos. If something is on YouTube and distributed for free, then, you know, I guess you want to be a little bit careful about using other people's content without their permission, especially when you're monetizing. But a better example to give you a sense is down in Jackson Hole. There's a wildlife adventures company hosted by Taylor. Taylor's in some of our programs. He's fantastic. He started doing a wildlife Wednesday, and this might be of interest to you, Willie, if you have sort of that outdoor and wildlife theme as you're, you know, assembling these experiences. So he has these incredibly talented guides who are so knowledgeable about what's going on, and so they would go around over the course of the week and they would collect their own footage. You can imagine a safari type experience doing this, where they're still going out and they're recording the animals, and then they bring that pre-recorded content back. And every Wednesday, you know, you could have some in-depth commentary happening in real time. Again, I would probably lean towards a live event and really be trying to think about, well, how could this be interactive? Because just describing, you know, behaviors of animals and stuff, there we're just kind of getting into a nature documentary, right? So I'm always thinking, how are we going to facilitate this? How can we elevate this? What am I going to get the people to do when they're here in this experience? But Taylor down in Jackson Hole, so his wildlife is, you know, caribous and elks and bears and all kinds of fish and these types of things. Well, he's having his knowledgeable guides create these fun experiences, and they're quick and they're snappy. So we're going to pop over to this guide. Here's what they caught. Then we're going over here. Check out this what this rabbit is doing. Notice how the fur is changing color. Let's learn a few interesting facts. But they kept it quick and snappy. They're doing it. They're actually streaming for free, and then they're selling gift certificates. They're aiming towards upcoming bookings instead of directly monetizing, and that's a great idea. So hopefully that gives you some inspiration, Willie. Nikki says, yes, more important than perfection is the connection. Yes, and so that goes in two ways, Nikki. That goes with, one, the connection that you're able to create with the individuals. And I would say it also applies to your internet connection as well, that you need to have a strong internet connection, full stop, period. And a common question that we get is, if there's like connection issues, or somebody can't get connected, or they have a bad or poor connection, they can't hear you, 100% this is grounds for offering a refund, obviously trying to reschedule if you can, to give them that option. But yeah, if their experience is being impacted by the ability to log in, or internet connectivity issues, even if it's on their end or their own device that isn't supporting it, we just need to be very much aware of that. You know, it's hard to think of what the equivalent would be if I was joining an in-person tour, and then, you know, I couldn't hear the guide, I couldn't, you know, see them. Maybe it was like such a big group. And you can imagine the guest experience being so poor by those conditions. So just a heads up, that's how we're recommending you manage those types of experiences. Okay, great. Keep those questions coming on the Facebook stream. I'm going to pop back over to our other stream here. I see lots of questions coming in. Okay, let's look for the cues. Kathy, my challenge is website and funnel services. Okay, Kathy, do you want to maybe elaborate on that a little bit? Is there anything specific about the website or the funnel services? I can answer with some insights, or some of the things that we share in our programs. But if you have something more specific, I'd be happy to answer that. So when we're thinking about a website, if, let's say, you don't have a website, some people who are in our programs, and, you know, we were just talking to Carmen, who is here, she doesn't, or in the past hasn't needed a website, right? Maybe she's a freelance tour leader, she's booked directly through travel agents, or again, you work for other companies, maybe as an over-the-road tour director. So one thing that we say is you probably don't need to launch a fully functional website that's going to be you know, all about you and your in-person services. And, you know, that's a pretty big project. It's arguably a good thing to have, depending on where you want to go in the future. But all you really need is what is essentially a sales page, right? A place where you can describe what your online experience is. It, of course, needs to talk about who you are, who's hosting the experience. It needs to talk about all the bullet points or logistics that are associated with it. And then it needs to be able to process a payment. That is all we basically need from that website, right? And so most of the time, you don't need to go out and be looking at complex solutions like setting up an entire Wix or WordPress or Squarespace website. You can actually do this fairly simply using online payment platforms, things like PayPal, things like Shopify. Shopify can very easily allow you to create a store in no time flat and connect a payment processor. Usually the payment processor is separate from whatever your storefront is, and that will depend a little bit on each region. Stripe doesn't necessarily work, let's say in South Africa or Australia. Like, I'm just making things up. I don't know exactly those limitations, but there are many different payment processing options out there. Someone was asking about PayPal. 100% PayPal is an option to consider, mostly because it's a very trusted brand. It's accepted widely. In many European countries, they prefer PayPal. It gives you more options, whether you want to pay by a credit card by PayPal or a directly connected bank account. Then essentially you're opening it up to people who don't necessarily have a credit card either, or they would prefer to use a debit card or connect a bank account. So yes, consider PayPal. And even if you are using a different solution, see if you can tie in a PayPal account. PayPal account is free to set up as a business owner and works pretty effectively globally. That's the other nice workaround for PayPal, is if you're, let's say, Stripe, which is one of the most common payment processors. It's the one that powers a lot of the booking softwares in the tour and activity industry, just as a footnote there. Then PayPal, there's a good chance it will work in that country. So thinking about websites there, Kathy, we probably don't need too much more complexity than that to get things started, especially with some of the methodology that we teach, which is testing and validating, right? So we don't need to spend a whole lot of time creating that online experience until we know people are actually going to pay for it or book it. Or again, if we're not thinking a direct monetization play, then obviously this is an entirely different thing. If it's not, we don't need them to directly monetize or pay for that experience, then again, we're just talking about a place to go where they can have that experience. Is it on Facebook Live? Is it in a Zoom meeting? Is it on YouTube Live? There are many different options. So Kathy, I'll keep an eye out for your additional clarifications there if you are still here, but that's just a little bit on websites. And I haven't used Squarespace a lot, but I think they've made it a lot easier to quickly launch a store with Squarespace. So consider Squarespace as a pretty inexpensive option to get a really good looking website that might be able to have a little bit more. And honestly, for others who already have booking software, remember that you can get free booking software from the likes of Peak Pro, from the likes of Fair Harbor, and others who are only going to charge commission when you make a sale. And that booking fee is, quote, passed on to your customers. So they'll see at the end a little, usually 5 or 6%, that is then passed on to that Fair Harbor, Peak, the booking software. So your booking software can actually work quite effectively as a quote website, right? Because they're handling both the landing page part of it and the payment processing side of it. Okay, fantastic. Just a quick reminder, if you're tuning in, this is Kelsey here. It's Friday. We're feeling good. I'm in Vancouver. I'm doing a double live stream. Everything seems to be okay. Maybe nobody can hear me, and that would be, of course, tragic as I just sit here speaking to two laptops. But hopefully you're out there and you're enjoying your Friday. We announced earlier today Black Friday specials for the Online Tours Academy. We're very much leaning into helping people with online experiences. And we're announcing a payment plan for the virtual tour business program. And for just the next week and a half or so over this Black Friday period, you can now enroll in virtual tour business for just 3 payments of $97. After that, we're considering having a payment plan, but it will probably go up to 4 payments. So if you're interested or on the fence, or you know somebody who's considering, for just $97, you can jump in our virtual tour business program, or with that one-time payment of $297, we're going to be throwing in our Extraordinary Storytelling for Tour Leaders program, which has about $300 value. So again, we are in the spirit of the Black Friday. Isn't it kind of crazy that like Black Friday is now really this like whole month? Like up in Canada, we don't quite have the same door busting mentality. Some of the countries I'm sure you're in may not even have this to a certain extent, but no question, like e-commerce and Amazon and everybody has, I'd be curious to know how much of a global phenomenon it is, but it is no longer just this Black Friday around the American Thanksgiving. It's now this like this whole month. So we're joining in on the fun. We're going to keep those specials up for about a week and a half, maybe a couple of weeks, something like that. Okay, let's pop back over to questions. I'll keep my answers a little bit shorter because we've got lots coming in. Thanks so much for tuning in and being here, guys. It's such a pleasure to be with you. Irina says, any tips on converting people who came on a free taster virtual tour into paying customers? We found that a few people came for a free one, but not many booked paid tours afterwards. Okay, I just want to see any tips on converting people who came on a free virtual tour into paying customers. So Irina, I'm just trying to get the subtext there. Are you trying to convert them into people coming on your in-person tours is how I'm reading that. And if that's the case, we can explore a couple things. Correct me if I'm wrong, Irina, if you're talking about getting them to maybe then book a virtual paid experience. So Irina, a couple of the tactics or techniques that people have been using is, of course, the instead of booking a particular time slot, but actually booking a sort of credit or a gift certificate or some type of card like that. So nothing groundbreaking there, but you can set them up as gifts, you know, like this could be a holiday special. You can create specials around your cards where maybe they're only paying, you know, $30, but it's getting them $40 off. So it's almost like tying in a discount, but it's sort of incentivizing them to get these gift certificates. Of course, at this time of the global pandemic, having maximum flexibility built into that credit. So you know that credit may be lasting longer than it would otherwise. That's definitely one to consider. Again, you can consider adjusting your refund and cancellation policy if you're, let's say, not going down the gift certificate type route, or again, if you don't quite have the software for that, there are software solutions out there. Many booking softwares actually come with some pretty comprehensive solutions, and if yours doesn't, then maybe consider one or two others. You know, we make some calls, find out, that type of thing, and there are third-party ones as well. But yeah, this is the other thing. So people are probably hesitant to make a booking just because they don't know if they're going to be able to make it, if things are going to be open, if policies are going to change. So that's one thing to keep in mind is being as flexible as possible with your, again, it could be refund policy, it could be your change window, whatever it might be. So those are a couple tips. What else could we consider doing? The walks or take walks. Our good friend Stephen Odo, he's doing this on his virtual tours, is that the purchase of a virtual tour actually counts as credit towards an in-person tour. So he's not separating those transactions, but he's kind of tying them all together. He says, hey, when you buy or enroll one of our virtual tour programs, or not virtual tour programs, sorry, one of our virtual experiences, you get that as credit towards an in-person. So that's kind of great as well, because there you're essentially doing the same thing, but in a way that all they need to do is join a paid virtual experience, and they're already getting that value. And hopefully you're going to get more value because they'll bring, well, one, they'll have to buy the rest of the tour, and two, maybe they'll bring friends, families, build you into their experience. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Irina, in terms of those free tours, just as a heads up, PayPal has a very simple link where you can, I forget what it's called, paypal.me or something like that, but it's almost like a tip link. We've seen many people doing this if they're hosting free streams on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. Then they share this link afterwards and have essentially a little tip speech where you're saying, hey, we're doing this free of charge, but if you got some value today, it would mean the world to us to donate whatever you think it was worth, right? Something like that. You hone your tip speech, and this is actually great. People are actually very generous. So if you're not doing that, Irina, that's something to consider, even if it's just a way to compensate those tour leaders or maybe some of the people in your network who could come in and facilitate those experiences for you, this could be a way to generate a little bit of revenue, a little cash flow for them. Or again, if it's you yourself doing it, be aware that there are many people who are going that route and actually seeing some generous tipping. I've talked about Chris Sandeman before. He runs Sandeman's New York. They do the free walking tours. They're leaning heavily into free online experiences that are pay what you can, pay what you think it is worth. All of their guides are trained in doing this tip speech. And then afterwards, on a Facebook live stream, eventually they'll be streaming on their own platform, you're able to donate afterwards. And Chris was already saying it was converting higher than their in-person tours, meaning people were tipping more generously online than in person. And what's nice about that PayPal link, you can set it up with some suggested amounts as well. So have a look into that, Irina. Just another thought. Chad, a question that was submitted. How do you collect payments when you offer online experiences, like if you use Zoom? Yeah, so the Zoom actually has started. We're keeping an eye on this, but Zoom is now building some of that functionality right into Zoom, and specifically the on Zoom marketplace. Chad, maybe if we can share the link to on Zoom, you can actually apply and share your experience in the on Zoom marketplace, and then the payment processing is ruled into the Zoom product itself. But leaving that aside for a moment, Zoom for the most part is just how you're connecting, and you may not be processing payments necessarily through Zoom. And so there's a few integrations that you can use, but otherwise you're basically looking at any type of payment solution. The ones we recommend, if you already have booking software, look into using your booking software. And then in the receipt, that's where you can share information about how to connect up. And that might be the Zoom thing. It might be that after you get their email, you then create a Zoom meeting and email those people out. Or again, if it's, email them from the Zoom platform. But again, it could be as simple as just the link. Hey, here's the link. And at this time and this place, come here, here's what you need, etc. And then have a series of reminder emails that are, again, they could come from your booking software side, quite simply, or you could set that up on the Zoom side. If you put in a few reminders and then you put their emails in there as well. It could be done with calendar invites. So that's just one example. Let's say booking software. Secondly, some of the ones we mentioned before, Shopify, Squarespace, PayPal, any of these payment processing. And then in the receipts or the follow-up emails, that's when we're going to connect them to Zoom. Thirdly, sites like Eventbrite and a couple others actually have integrations with Zoom. And there's a couple of these that we recommend in our program beyond Eventbrite, where, again, you can tie it all in together. And it's a much more seamless experience where they're buying and then the Zoom event is linked already. You can say you're buying for this particular, that's Eventbrite's solution is kind of like based around selling for particular one-off events. So if you say, okay, if you want to book for this date, go to this link, and then you register through Eventbrite, and it's automatically tied to that Zoom link. So that's a quick insight there. Cool. Just quickly checking in on some questions. Willie saying, can you provide me with contact details, communicate about further assistance or information about the program? Yeah, Willie, feel free to follow up. Yeah, I see Chad has followed up with you. Fantastic. Okay, next question. Daniel says the free plan of Zoom only works up to 40 minutes. Yeah, Daniel, hopefully we covered it here. I see you followed up. All you need to pay is the $10-15 a month afterwards, and that unlocks that 40 minutes and a number of other services. Kathy saying, a program to teach us how to use the technology for the coach would be appreciated. Kathy, are you talking about a bus in terms of a coach? A program to teach us how to use the technology for the coach would be appreciated. Yeah, sorry, Kathy, I think we'll have to clarify a little bit. Use the technology for the coach. I assume you're talking about for a bus. I haven't heard of anyone doing an online experience with a bus necessarily, but perhaps you're talking about tour directing and over-the-road technology. Feel free to clarify there. Shane says, what are some ways to keep guests engaged while on a virtual tour or experience beyond engaging storytelling? Awesome, great question, Shane. And this is where we should be focused. So Let's go through some examples. We have an entire module in the virtual tour business program, which if you're just joining us, Kelsey Toner here from the Online Tourism Academy. We have some Black Friday specials. You can see the links here in the comments, but our virtual tour business program, you can now get access for just $97 today. That's a 3-month payment plan. That's going to be a special here for the next couple weeks, as well as with a one-time payment, you can get our storytelling program thrown in. This is a Black Friday special. So if you get in there, there's a great module that's all about best practices. So Shane, special people, special access, special moments. This is the great triumvirate that I think we can be thinking about when designing that online experience. And then from there, how do we engage? Well, any way that you can get people to use their senses, full stop, period. And don't limit yourself to thinking, well, if I don't send them something, let's say do some type of virtual experience where we're sending something to their house that, I just can't do anything because they won't have it. Keep in mind, you can set it up so that here are the things that we encourage you to bring or that you'll need to attend. And these can be household items. So for example, there's an Airbnb online experience, a fellow named Ricardo. We actually interviewed and shared that interview recently. And so one of the things Ricardo does is he encourages people to facilitates a coffee experience, but he gets people to bring their own coffee. And it might be like, okay, if you have access to it, get some freshly ground and roasted or freshly roasted beans, from a local coffee roaster. Okay, then get some instant coffee, and then get, I don't know, like some Folgers beans, something that's been sitting on the shelf for a year or more. And then he facilitates that experience with just the beans or the instant coffee powder, where he's getting people to smell, taste, obviously add the water, and smell, taste. That whole experience is very, very engaging because it uses those senses. Secondly, as I mentioned before, you can have, if it is live, create teams, and you can have breakout rooms. So a breakout room, if people aren't familiar, is in Zoom, you have your main room, meeting room, and a breakout room just means a mini room that is with a smaller group. So I'm in the main call. As a host, I actually have control over, okay, who goes to what room. I can randomize it. I can set a timer if we're only going to be in those rooms for 2 minutes and then come back. All of that is great for engagement, because let's say we've got a larger group or even 15 people. There's going to be people who are more quiet, maybe not as engaged, but then we can send them out to those mini rooms. And so now with let's say 3 or 4 people, could be 2 if you want, 2 to 4 people, they can have a conversation. Maybe you're giving them something to discuss. Maybe it's a trivia challenge. Maybe it's just introduction. That's how we're going to kick things off. That we're going to go to the breakout room, say a quick hi, meet 2 or 3 other people, and then we're going to come on back in. Or maybe go discuss and then elect a team sharer, and then when we come back, you're going to share what you think the answer is or what you think that what have you. So that's on the quiz or game side. I've seen people do quizzes and things where you say, okay, you need a pad of paper to join. Everybody write down your guesses. Did Queen, what is it, Henry VIII, how many wives did he kill? Was it 6, 10, or 50? Everyone writes down their answer, and then we're going to hold it up, right? And we'll do that all together at the same time. That's engagement, right? And the way that I think about it, Shane, is anything that's causing me to move or do something is engaging. And if I can stand up or move around, move away from the computer, even temporarily, and come back, I think those things are all okay and should be considered. So yeah, can I write? Can I show? Can I if? Think about senses, think about games, think about interactivity. Like I said, we've got a whole module in this with ideas, but hopefully that gives you some inspiration. Okay, let's pop over here. Paul saying, tours by locals. Tour HQ, Viator, Airbnb Experiences, which are the good agencies for virtual tours? Yeah, okay. I'll tell you what I know about each. Airbnb Online Experiences was one of the first. What we've heard is that it's difficult to get in to Airbnb Online Experiences right now. I suspect they've been flooded with applications. That doesn't mean you shouldn't apply, but here are some tips. Don't apply as a company. you should very much be applying as an individual and look at their best-selling experiences and try and, I would say, come up with something that's comparable, or again, something that is just not even on the platform, but is really, really engaging. You can get a sense from the ones that they've chosen, the ones that they've listed, the types of experiences that they're leaning towards. And keep an eye, because they have different sections. And so, for example, Airbnb now has a online field trips section. So they took some of their online experiences, reached out to those hosts, and then reframed them as educational experiences, as field trips, as things for teachers or homeschooling parents to take their kids on, emphasizing that educational angle. So you might see that and think, okay, if I'm applying to Airbnb online experiences, is there a really compelling experience that can have an educational element that might lend itself nicely to that? Or again, okay, I see that drag queens and sangria is a really big seller, or the Plague Tour in Czech Republic. You know, these things involve costumes. They involve really high energy performances from the drag queens or from the plague doctors. So consider some of those elements. But yeah, we have heard Airbnb online experiences can be tough to get into, so just be forewarned there. Tours by locals. As far as we've seen, they're going more the private route, meaning more premium price and more likely a 1-to-1 or 1-to small group experience, which again is different than Airbnb online experiences, which is very much a sort of 1 to maybe 10 people, maybe 30 people. Some of their experiences are actually quite large. So that's what we've seen by tours by locals. Amazon Explore. We have some people in our program who applied and got into Amazon Explore. This is another marketplace of online experiences. Amazon's unique angle on this is private, very much like tours by locals. So it's private experiences priced on the higher end, $70, $80. And it's, again, 1-to-1 or 1-to family unit for the most part. And then they're trying to find ways to monetize those experiences. So you can book people to take you on a shopping trip, and then you can buy some of those products or services, but they are also emphasizing tour leaders and experience hosts. And then they'll probably be looking for ways to offer some of Amazon's products and services there. It's a very new product, but I know they had a strategic partnership with Urban Adventures. And so some of the people who are involved with Urban Adventures got fast-tracked into the Amazon Explore program. You can apply. Tour HQ, again, a marketplace. They are more akin to Airbnb online experiences. Not as familiar with them. I know they have major offices and bases in Singapore and some of the Eastern Asia. So just a heads up there, they are getting into the online experiences marketplace as well with locals. So with locals live is more or less their version of Airbnb online experiences. And was there one other one that you mentioned? Yeah, Viator. So Viator and the other OTAs like Get Your Guide and others, you can basically, here's the thing, they're not putting much effort into distributing online and virtual experiences. They haven't seen much traction with it. They haven't been able to market it. They don't really believe in it. If you saw Johannes Reck, he was saying that he felt that it was quite temporary, and Be a Better Guides, what they're focused on and what they're building, they feel that this is not where they want to spend their time and energy. So what that boils down to is there's not great distribution options for your online experiences. It means a lot of it is going to be your own marketing, your own guerrilla efforts. It's going to be signing up and potentially being accepted in these marketplaces, I would say are just slightly different than the online travel agents, the people like Viator, TripAdvisor, Get Your Guide, Klook, others. That to me is more distribution, but these marketplaces will still take a commission, and they do help certainly a little bit with that distribution. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of the lay of the land. The other one is this On Zoom. I think Chad may have shared that in the chat here, but On Zoom is Zoom's marketplace for online experiences. We've got a brand new workshop that we'll be sharing next week, and it's all about creating online experiences for people. Zoom recognizes not just for tour leaders and tour and activity business owners, but it's for the yoga instructors, the people who have breweries, the ones who have passionate hobbies, the potters. Anybody can create an online experience. And so Zoom is creating that marketplace as well. So consider applying there, Paul. Cool. Let's just quickly check in on Facebook. Yeah, I see on Zoom, it's on.zoom.us is the on Zoom, a marketplace for immersive experiences. So we're seeing Zoom get into that. Okay, let's pop back over here. We're probably going to be wrapping up, Chad, maybe in the next 5 to 10 minutes, just a heads up. We've been live here, it looks like, for just about an hour. That's awesome. Quick reminder about those Black Friday special offers. There's a link shared there for just $97. You can jump in our virtual tour business program. That's a 3-month payment plan. People have been asking for the payment plan, and so that's part of what we're releasing here with the Black Friday offer. Ovasis asks, thanks for this great Q&A session. I sent you an email about our team and work in the Middle East countries. I'd like to let me know about your opinion about cooperating. We have a network from guides and tour operators who might to learn more. Hey, I'd be happy to discuss. So I'll check my inbox and we can follow up with one another. Francisco, are wildlife watching online experiences being offered by nature guides? For example, birding walk by a footpath. Yeah, Francisco, I'm not aware of too many birding experiences, 0 in fact. I'm not as familiar, maybe you were here earlier when I was talking about Taylor and his wildlife experiences, where it wasn't so much about a guided live experience as it was about them capturing footage of like, here's what's happening in the Tetons or this beautiful national park, and then having a live experience where they're sharing some of that knowledge, giving you live updates on what's happening. So we have seen some of that. The concern is a couple things. One, I feel like a real-time guided, let's say, birding experience or nature experience would probably be a little bit tough. It would be a little bit dry because you kind of have this experience of waiting to see the wildlife or having to try and track down the bird. Again, I can imagine with birding, there would be a lot of challenge of like trying to zoom in. Do we actually see the bird? Depending on your connection. So in my mind, it would be a pretty challenging thing to pull off live. And that's not even getting into the issues around your internet connection. Do you have a strong internet connection? Like, could you stream from your phone to be able to watch that wildlife, and to the stabilization? Anytime we're moving around with our phone, now we need to be thinking about a simple gimbal or some type of stabilization tool. So it creates some issues. So my advice, honestly, if you're considering something like that, is maybe go down the virtual club type of route versus a straight virtual experience. And this is where in our program, we try and get people to open their minds to think beyond just, I have to create my tour and bring it online. Because as we just discussed, depending on your tour, like, gosh, if you're a kayak tour or a mountain biking tour, or again, a wildlife experience tour, that's very, very difficult and just a not very comparable experience. And yes, anytime we're moving something online, it's going to be a not as compelling as being there in person. I think we're all on the same page about that. But some online experiences are better than others. And so with that virtual club example, it's like, I would focus on the birding community. Right now, there are clubs, there's Facebook groups, there's meetups, there's Reddit threads, there's all kinds of places where birding enthusiasts are coming together. And I would reach out to them. In our program, we have this in your market research, the exact questions that you can ask, how you can find these groups, how to use tools like Reddit and meetups and others to get in front of them and ask what some of their biggest challenges, frustrations are. You can pitch and present, here's my idea for a virtual club, $15 a month, $20 a month, here are all the benefits that you're going to get. And we did this example, I shared this example actually just with Carmen. We had a tour leader, she's in our accelerator program for the virtual tour business. She was talking about her tours in Buenos Aires, which were some were food related, some were vegetarian related, some were tango related. And we steered her towards just focusing on that tango element. And instead of just visitors to Buenos Aires, let's focus on tango enthusiasts, the people that are hanging out, that have clubs, that probably would have been spending money on lessons, who are frustrated right now because they can't go and they can't dance and they can't have social and they can't have this great experience moving their bodies. So we came up with some benefits that might be in that club, and that could include every week we're going to send you a new dance move to work on. We're going to send you music that we've discovered, some of our favorite tango music. We're going to track down and have some world-class tango performers come and meet with our group and have like a live Q&A, a Zoom call where I can have access to this special person, special access, special person, special moments. How cool would that be, right? Because these people aren't flying around the world competing right now. The other example was maybe we'll watch the worlds together. So we have a video recording of the world championships of tango from down there in Argentina, or again, anywhere. And we're going to break down that experience with an instructor, and we'll pause and then we'll show what they're doing and why that was such a great performance, or this is why they tripped and fell, these types of things. So with that birding example, that's where our program is hopefully going to help steer you towards one of these monthly reoccurring clubs where we're getting away from just moving your tour online. Hopefully that helps, gives you a little bit of inspiration. Oh, I love it, guys. These questions are coming fast and furious. We have a tour guide from Morocco tuning in. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Carlos says, when it comes to putting a price on the virtual experience, some people choose not to charge any fixed amount, while others prefer to leave it up to people's gratuities. Which would you use? Which more effective? Yeah, Carlos, it really depends on the nature of the product itself. I would say live online experiences. Let me figure out the best way to answer. It depends a little bit about your distribution. How are you going to get in front of people? So with this, like birding enthusiasts or tango clubs, like if I know there's communities and groups and networks that I can tap into, then I'd be much more inclined towards the a paid program if I was going to do live and say, yeah, hey, this is what it costs to come live. And again, this is for if going the monetization route. But quite honestly, it's a matter of preference. You know, if you're instead, let's say, doing a strategic partnership with your local tourism authority. So let's say Romania, as I was just speaking with Carmen, Tourism Bucharest and Tourism Romania and Tourism Transylvania are trying to figure out a way to have content to get in front of people. So Romania and Bucharest and Transylvania can stay top of mind, and you can partner with them to have free, twice a week, free hosted online experiences, and they're going to distribute it or market that. And frankly, we've seen some really cool opportunities to work with DMOs, destination management organization, tourism bureaus, etc., because it's such a great message. We saw California do this, we saw Australia do this, we've seen Canada do it, where we're basically saying, if you can't get to California, then we're going to bring California to you. If you can't visit Romania right now, then here's a little taste of Romania right in your living room. So again, with that type of distribution, maybe I would lean towards a free model where we have tipping at the end, right? Because there we're gonna maybe hopefully either register a bunch of people, or again, they might prefer, yeah, if we can do this through our own Instagram or through our own Facebook or our own YouTube channel, but then you can have a monetization link in there. So Carlos, it really kind of depends on when we're thinking about the distribution and marketing. So there's pros and cons to both. The bottom line is for testing and validating, I love having a price on there, because then I'm going to know the level of interest. Are people willing to put their credit card down? Have I created a compelling enough value proposition? So it's certainly going to, anytime you're doing something for free and you just don't know whether people are going to pay you or compensate you afterwards, you're taking on more risk. So the less risky option, is another way of framing it, would be to put a price on it. Okay. Daniel says, working great. Thanks for your insight. My pleasure. Irina says, thanks for answering my question. The tours are here. Free half-an-hour taster virtual tours, and then a few virtual tours on offer. Yeah, and I see you're using Eventbrite, Irina. That's great. Okay, we'll take a look. Chad, let's make sure we grab Irina's link there. Shermalyn says, based on observation, what is the general age range of persons taking food tours? Hey, Shermalyn. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the data on this, would be the shortest answer. I think it depends a lot on who you're targeting to. So I know that Devour, like Kyra and her Devour team, they were using the their database, right? So people who had come on Devour tours over the last 3-4 years, these were the people who they reached out to initially and said, hey, we've got these online experiences, come, you can have another taste of Europe, of Spain, Barcelona, whatever it might be. And so there it clearly skewed towards their in-person tour customer profile, right? And they serve many American clientele, many in the, from the backpacker age, and then yeah. So the short answer is I don't have great data on that. It really depends on each individual food tour or experience and how they're targeting it. So Akila, again, who was down in Atlanta, initially she was just focused on Georgia, and then she opened it up to a wider group in the US. So no question, I've heard that retired couples, the older folks who love traveling and probably have had bookings maybe to come to the Caribbean, to St. Lucia, to different parts of Italy, Spain, around the world. These are folks that are have a little more disposable income, a little more time, and interest in going on these types of food experiences. Amir says, how do you suggest mixing two themes under one roof? I come from a mixed background with both wine and guiding through the Holy Land. Two themes. I mean, anything is possible. I would focus, instead of the theme, focus on the value proposition. So what is it that people are going to receive when they come on that experience? And if part of the theme are some of the benefits, like what is this? Special people, special access, special moments. Maybe it's special access to some of the wine regions, or again, the special person could be you if you're a wine aficionado of that particular region. So I think I would focus less on, is the theme of the tour good versus is the value proposition good? And then you have a hypothesis, and then you test that hypothesis, put it up for sale. Are people willing to put their credit card down to pay for that online experience? Have you convinced them? Have you gotten it in front of the right people? That's going to answer the question, which is most important, which is it viable as a product? You can spend a lot of time thinking about your themes, but if nobody's going to buy it or nobody's going to attend, then in my mind, you're kind of wasting your time, right? So Amir, I would focus more on that value proposition and testing as quickly as possible. In our program, we talk about trying to get something up in like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Get your first registration page up, get your value proposition out there, start reaching out and finding those partners. As if you followed the methodology in our program, we start with the who. Once you know who you're serving, that's going to help dictate what is the nature of your experience. Is it pre-recorded? Does it make sense to do it with Eventbrite? Does it make sense to do it with Zoom? Does it make sense to have pre-recorded content in a live package? Does a delivery service / virtual experience make sense? All of those questions are answered after the who, and then you test it and you validate it. You then know who we're targeting, so you can use marketing strategies. And secondly, you know what the nature of that experience is, and we're going to test it before we run out and build it. Okay. Kathy says, yes, on the bus, especially for download for tour directing when we get back on the road. Not sure how to get the information, say, on maps or area highlights to put on a coach screen. Yeah, no question, Kathy, that's very tough to do. I've been on some of those coach experiences. We're not that skilled, honestly, in doing that, and each coach system is so different that it would really depend upon it. But I would say if you're if ever you get a contract to do that, I'm trying to imagine the situation where they didn't want a tour leader or some combined experience. It's a great idea for training. And that's really complex because depending on your coach, depending on aside from just playing a pre-recorded video, which is fairly straightforward, it can get tricky. Okay, I'm going to just start wrapping up for the last couple questions. Cassie says, thanks so much. Francisco says, yeah, I imagine birding is a difficult experience to be shared online. Thanks, and thanks for sharing your knowledge. Hey, my pleasure, Francisco. And I do think there's a ton of potential in having some type of virtual birding club. Anytime you've got a group of people who are enthusiastic or passionate about something like that, there's real potential to have a online experience or online product or service that can serve that group. And the monthly reoccurring is a great way to keep the entry access low and then deliver that value over the course of a couple of weeks. We often use the example of Gary Lintern, who ran photography tours in the UK and astronomy tours. He created a virtual camera club and a virtual astronomy club where he was able to generate, $1,500 a month of recurring revenue from his camera club, and his astronomy club is doing about the same. Now, again, that's not replacing all of the income that he could have generated from his in-person tours, not by a long shot, but by having, $3,000 a month in revenue coming in, that goes a long way. It's a heck of a lot better than nothing, right? Daniel, the cell phone stabilizer for video transmission, a selfie stick. Yeah, Daniel, I would quickly say the Osmo, Chad, maybe if you can quickly grab the link, Osmo Mobile 3. I think they're on the 3rd generation. They're around like $99, maybe $150. If you do want some stabilization for your smartphone, these things are awesome. It's made by DJI. They do the mini drones, they do gimbals, and all a gimbal is just, it's like a handheld for your smartphone. Anyway, a stabilizer that goes like this. And as you move, it's going to keep the camera steady. They work a charm. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I would do that over the selfie stick for sure. Selfie stick can be doable depending on your phone. Okay. So last question, maybe from George. Oh, Chad, great question. We also have another resource. If you haven't seen it yet, we paid a researcher, and I've been adding people to the list, but it's 100+ examples of online experiences. So these are real world companies or guides who have already launched their online experiences, and you can check them out. Basically, it's 100+ links. Chad, maybe we can share that in the chat here. And it's a fantastic resource for a number of reasons. One, you can go on these online experiences. For one, you can support a fellow guide or operator, see what they're doing. If you don't want to go on them, of course, you can see how they're talking about their online experience. How are they discussing their value proposition? What website or software are they using? Are they using booking software? Is the experience happening on Zoom? All of this is invaluable. And we have some links to the marketplaces, which we discussed earlier. Just look at the reviews, try and figure out which ones are the best sellers, and just go into that review section. People lay it out for you. It's right there for all the world to see. Here's what I loved about this online experience. It was amazing that the host did this. I was really surprised at how engaging it was because of this. I loved how we had to change our Zoom names into something fun, or that they put us, you can put your Zoom name just like your screen name, and then put a team name afterwards. And like, I've gotten all kinds of ideas just by going through these online reviews. So that's at beabetterguide.com/100. And maybe we can share that in the chat on both streams here, Chad, if we can. But that's where you can grab that resource. It's free of charge. We put it out there in the world, again, just to help people and generate, generate ideas, inspiration, and again, support fellow operators. So George, we're going to get to your question. We're going to wrap things up. Explain the services your company provides in facilitating an online experience. Okay. So it's a great wrap-up question as we kind of bring this to a close. Such a pleasure being here with you all today. And if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to type a question in down below. We'll keep an eye out and be happy to answer that for you. So what we did in April was essentially we were surveying our community, trying to find out how we could help. And we knew that many tour leaders, many tour businesses were just essentially first round of lockdowns, they were shutting down. There was a lot of interest in online experiences. So after reviewing what people wanted help with, mainly things like, well, what even is an online experience? How could I translate something like birding or a bike tour or a history tour into an online experience? What options are there? What software should I use? What do I need in terms of cameras? What about lighting or stabilization and audio mics? How am I going to process payments? How are we then going to deliver the experience? It was a lot of this sort of practical, really like how to actually create an online experience, because we saw lots of people debating whether or not we should do online experiences, and that debate goes on, and that's a healthy debate to have, and one that you should make the decision for yourself in terms of if you want to pursue this or not. but nobody was really getting into the nitty gritty of the how. And that's what the virtual tour business program was all about. And so you can check out the link here. We're just announced today, if you are watching this, our Black Friday specials. You can get into the virtual tour business program for just 3 payments of $97 a month, with a one-time payment of $297. That's your US dollars. We also throw in our storytelling program, which is another $300 self-study program. So it's at your own pace, in your own place. That was done intentionally because we know it's difficult with people all around the world, different time zones, after showing up for certain times. We're guides and tour leaders, tour guide trainers, business owners ourselves, so we know what our schedules are like in this industry. And then, of course, now this is a great time where if we are stuck in our homes to be doing these types of programs. So that's how we can help with virtual tour business. We've got some specials on offer. And then we also have our virtual tour business accelerator program. And this is people who basically said, hey, we love the core program, but we want some more coaching, consulting. We'd love to have an accountability partner. So we designed this program to last 90 days, and it's all about getting your online experience launched within 30 days. The program itself is 90 days long. We have weekly Zoom calls. It's an intimate group. We're probably in the 10 to 15, let's say, approximately, group. So it's a small group coaching structure. We're live every single week. We've just had Carmen, who got registered today in that accelerator program. We're going to be helping her launch online experiences for Bucharest in Romania. And we're going to help her focus on we've identified some of her networks. She was actually in an MBA program, and she has great connections to business owners in Bucharest. And she already was working with them, a 3,000 person company, to create some in-person team building. So we're going to focus on team building virtually, right? A remote thing. So anyway, Carmen's decided to join our accelerator program, and there's 2 options for joining that. It's a one-time payment of $997, or we have actually created a payment plan for that as well. We can do $97 a month, but for 12 months. And so basically, if you want that extra support, we'll be your accountability partners. You'll have instant access. We have a Slack channel where you can instantly message, again, some of our experienced coaches. So Kyra Alcock, who's already created and launched over 15 different online experiences. She can work with you. We'll get you the answers you need. It's more individual attention, more accountability, direct access to the coaches, and the weekly mentoring calls. So those are the 2 options. Thanks, George, for the question. I think we are going to wrap things up. Just scrolling up here, Carmen says, thank you, great insights. Carmen, we're so excited to continue working with you. You're going to kick butt over there in Romania. Daniel says, thank you, Kelsey and Chad, for the enlightening session. My pleasure. Chad, thanks for sharing that 100 plus real world examples of tours. We can make sure that that's on Facebook too. Perfect, I see it there. Megan says, just dropped the Osmo 4 a couple months ago. I have the 3, love it. Megan, thanks for sharing that. Again, that Osmo 3, assuming you're talking about the mobile one there, is the gimbal device, and that's going to stabilize. I mean, gosh, the gimbal technology is amazing. Gimbals used to be these like 600-pound rigs that you'd put a 1,000-pound camera in for movies, and it'd need to be on a dolly and a camera. Nowadays, it's unbelievable. The technology is just in your hand, and many of the modern, let's say, smartphones in the last couple of years are now building stabilization of videos right into the cameras as well. And for those of you who have GoPros are great for that stabilization as well. So if you're interested, we'd love to support you with this. Otherwise, we hope that this was a valuable session for you, and all our very best. I hope you have a lovely weekend. We're going to be here celebrating. I got my 2 young girls. We're going to get outside this weekend, enjoy some of the snow that's fallen up here in the mountains behind me. So such a pleasure to be with you both here. Hopefully this dual stream has worked out okay. Didn't seem like we had too many disasters, but thank you so much. Have a lovely, lovely weekend, and a huge thank you to you, Chad, for keeping the wheels on here. So let's end the stream here. Bye-bye.